promised you guys I'd give it a try. I did give it a try. I think I got somewhere with the question. Good morning to you. Good Thursday morning. I'm Dan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into football and or baseball. I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. Dan Muse was, in fact, formally introduced as the Penguins' 23rd head coach yesterday at PPG Paints Arena. It was a morning session. It was a nice little event. The Penguins brought all their staff, administration, and so forth into the back of the room. A couple of familiar faces. Always nice to see back there. Craig Patrick, an advisor to the team. Kevin Stevens, a scout. Muse's family was on hand. And, of course, a whole bunch of us evil reporters facing an elevated table where Muse sat next to Kyle Dubas. Dubas introduced him, but for the most part, it was Muse that was getting asked the questions, and it was Muse that was doing the talking. There was quite a bit about his background, about his approach to dealing with players, with superstars, with younger guys, with development, with mixing the two. And then there was me, the X's and O's geek, just wanting to know if the defensemen are going to pinch. And that wasn't exactly how I asked it, but it wasn't far from it. Because the fact is, the near-term future of this franchise really relies on, A, as I said to him face-to-face, that Dubas gets defensemen who can move the puck and who can move themselves, and B, that Muse is in favor of keeping such players active or activated in the coaching lingo. This was Muse's thoughtful answer on the subject.
One of the things that, really excited me about this opportunity was the clear collaboration that's going to happen. And that kind of started right away, within this process, and I think that early on in our conversations, and especially when coming in here and then meeting with other members of the organization, it became very clear that this is an opportunity for full collaboration at a really high level. And there will be. I came into this job, I guess I walked out of the interview and came into this position feeling very strongly that that's going to be there. And that's something that excites me. That's something that, I've seen, and it's something that I believe in, that you have to have. You have to take all the resources that you have, all the different people and ideas, and you have to become, you're united in what your approach is going to be and everything that you do. And I believe that's what leads to success. And so that was, the conversations that we had, and I'm extremely excited about how that will work moving forward.
Do you believe in activating your defensemen?
Do I believe in activating them?
Yeah.
Yes. You're saying in terms of offensively, getting up in the play? Yeah, I believe that the way the game is played right now, you need 5 players involved to create offense. Now, how you do that can vary, and you talk about activation, and you talk about the ways you create offense, you need everybody. Now, teams are too good defensively. They just are. I mean, everybody is. The goalies are too good. You have to do different things to be able to create high percentage scoring chances, high quality scoring chances. It's just really hard to come by now. And everybody's built differently in how they're going to do that. So within the group of players that we're working with, it's looking at, how can we find the best version of that player to be able to help that. Just like we're looking on the other side of the puck, how can we get the best version of that player and who that player is on the defensive side of the puck, and everything in between. So activation, yes, but how you go about it, that's going to be stuff that we'll be discussing throughout the summer and have ready to go there at training camp.
Now, that could come across as not the most direct answer, but as he would say multiple times through the session, he's not about to break down how he handles the neutral zone or any details about anything. And in fact, between what I heard from Muse and what I heard from Dubas, the one thing that really leaped out at me was that when I'd bring up the concept of working together, I used the term symbiosis, where these guys have to get that they need each other that if you're going to have a coach preaching one thing, the GM's bringing a different type of player in, or vice versa, the whole thing blows up. Now, they can say anything. They could say whatever on the 11th of June within a week of the guy being hired. But they're going to have, apparently, quite a lot of time in front of them to prove it. And addressing specifically Dubas here, I don't mean to parse too closely everything that he said, but I kind of got the impression that he's looking forward to that specific component, meaning to be able to work with a head coach who is, and I'm paraphrasing Dubas here, willing to mix things up systematically where there isn't just one way to play. And you can take that if you want as a shot at Mike Sullivan. I don't believe that Dubas has that as an actual feeling of his or an intent, but he's running the hockey operation, and he has every right to be able to actually run it without running into a figurative cement wall. Regardless of what you think of Sullivan, his system, his style, the GM has every right, no, every responsibility to be able to enact the things that he wants to enact. Can there be discussion? Can there be dialogue? Well, when I brought up this defense thing, they both acknowledged that this was something, and they actually kind of laughed about it, that they had talked about a lot during the interview process, which I found interesting unto itself. We're going to have a lot to say on this subject for really a long time. This was a lot of access that's going to be followed by not a lot of access between now and the NHL draft and then development camp. So there'll be plenty more to unpack. Overall, first impression of my own was a positive one. It really was. And it was principally because of that whole symbiosis component. When we come back, J1Q. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season. From Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Today's J1Q comes from Darren in Raleigh, North Carolina. He says, DK, what's your take on Vasily Ponomarev heading back to Russia? I might be misremembering, but I thought that he and not Ville Koivunen was the big get in the Jake Gensel trade. Is this concerning, or is Ponomarev ceiling somewhere on the fourth line and both sides are just moving on? Darren, I think you nailed it in that second portion of that question. I'm not going to challenge you to be a hockey scout here, but you saw him. You saw Ponomarev in the NHL. Now, is it a fair opportunity or window to just get a handful of games? No. But what you did see, what was unmistakable, and I said this at the time in watching him, was that he does not have NHL speed. Now, the way that I was describing that as it was happening was that he was not going to be a Mike Sullivan type of player, meaning that Sullivan wants his guys, needs his guys to be able to get in on the forecheck. Most coaches will say that. But in watching Ponomarev, there wasn't one skill of his where you said, oh, he's nothing special offensively, nothing special defensively, okay defensively, and just wasn't going to make much of a difference for you. I also feel like, and this is not information that I've called in the subject of Ponomarev never came up yesterday. But the other way to look at this is what you want or wanted to get from Ponomarev, you probably have a much better chance of getting from a much better prospect in Philip Hollander. Hollander impressed the Penguins management quite a bit when he was here in his first stint. What jumps to my mind in particular was a conversation I had with Billy Guerin, obviously, when Billy was here, about how he felt, even at the time, that Hollander had the opportunity to be one of those instant bang, plug and play young players because he's so responsible all over the ice that you don't have to sweat the damage that he's going to do in the interim. And again, I'm going to say this, we were talking about Sullivan as head coach. It's the only way you were going to get on the rink if you were a young player. So by every accounting, Hollander went back to Sweden, became even more prolific in all areas, and now is ready for a real move to the NHL. Was that going to be Ponomarev? No. Did Ponomarev kind of get wind of that? Quite possibly. Ponomarev's commitment, by the way, with Avangard Omsk is going to be for 3 years in the KHL. Oh, and to answer your other question, was he the big get in the Jake trade? No. That's been Koivunen all along. That's not rewriting history. You can go back and look at the original rankings at the time of the transaction. What you had that might throw some people, including yourself, was a lot of the reporting, and this went for me as well, would just lump the two together because they were similar in age and similar in their career paths within the Carolina organization. Koivunen's the real deal. Koivunen's going to make a difference. You saw that too. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins. We'll be back with another one of these tomorrow.